Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for Business and Life Insights. And I have the pleasure of introducing you to a very special friend. Burke Franklin is our guest today. He's the founder of BizPlanBuilder, a strategic business funding and growth planning system. It's a very, very comprehensive and very powerful system that I'd like you all to become familiar with, and we'll talk a little bit about it with us today. But what sets the BizPlanBuilder apart is that it's more than just a collection of templates. BizPlanBuilder bridges the gap between an entrepreneur's vision and an investor's expectations. It provides clear guidance on what to say, how to say it, the actionable steps to get things done. From securing venture capital for medical devices to obtaining SBA loans for manufacturing companies, BizPlanBuilder has proven its value time and again. One client even used it to acquire 2 Learjets without spending a dime of their own money. Burke Franklin is passionate about helping businesses thrive. It's not just a personal thing. It's not just a professional issue with Burke. It's also personal. He knows what's at stake when entrepreneurs put their heart, soul, and resources into building something extraordinary. So, Burke, welcome to the show. We are happy to have
you read the thing I wrote for you.
You did. I did. I didn't want to diverge too much, but because there is a lot there, we kind of summarized a lot, but let's go deeper. And that's what I want you to do today, but also bearing in mind of how we're going to be using your tools to help us become more powerful businesses in 2025.
I want to acknowledge that a lot of people really don't want to write business plans because it seems like a lot of work, and I don't want to do that. I just want to go ahead and get going. And I said, listen to your intro that I wrote for you. It's like, it sounds a little salesy, a little over the top, but at the same time, it's all true. And I really envy the guy who got the 2 Learjets basically for nothing. It wasn't quite that easy, but he had a business plan. He thought he was going to raise capital to buy a couple of planes, and then he found a man who owned 2 planes. And they oftentimes you'll own a jet or a plane, and you'll put it with a company who leases it out and flies it for other people. And then, of course, they fly you whenever you want it. So that way it's not just sitting there, because they don't use them 24/7 like you commute to work in it, although I suppose you could.
Put them to use.
He convinced the man to put the plane in his management, and so now he could use them. He didn't need to go out and buy 2 jets. Really, the business plan originally, most people think it's just for startups. I need capital, which is really what it is. If you're going to ask somebody for millions of dollars, they deserve an explanation. So,
some ways, yes.
Like, why? Why am I going to give you $5 million?
Yes, please convince me.
Right. And if they've got the kind of money to invest, they're probably looking at your deal, a handful of other deals, or 100 other deals for all you know. And so, like, why are you the best bet? And oftentimes, I think people think they're like with a pitch deck and a smile, I'm super excited. We're going to do this thing. And that's really it. And they don't think about there's the pitch and the deck. And then there's like 4 to 6 months of conversations, due diligence, and a whole bunch of other stuff that actually has to happen to bring in all that money. And it could fall apart anywhere along the way, which, that stuff happens, but anyway.
Happen, especially during the due diligence, which we can get to later if you want, but
Well, I think you need to because if you really are looking for capital, or even no matter what, at some point due diligence really is it's ultimately going to happen. It's what's the word for it? It's inevitable, and so you want to think about and be prepared for due diligence along the way. And so part of that thinking is be sure that whatever you tell the investors is something they can verify when they go to. The due diligence really is the thing of due diligence. I am checking you out to be sure that everything that you said is not only believable, but true in your case. I mean, some stuff you're going to say, well, I think I can do this much. Well, that's okay. Is that a reasonable guesstimate? And so is that all of that? And then there's certain things that you really want to have facts that you can't fake. And I talked to a friend of mine who's a venture capitalist one time, and I called him up and said, hey, Peter, I'm just wondering, when guys are doing due diligence on these deals, and how many mistakes or what do you call it, miscalculations or whatever
Hmm.
Do you allow? And of course, I'm thinking like growing up in America, playing baseball, 3 strikes and you're out. So how many
Yeah.
strikes do you give him? And without missing a beat, he goes, none.
Yes.
None. Whoa.
No.
But these guys are throwing down millions of dollars. So you have to have your act right. I mean, how many mistakes do you allow an airline pilot? How many mistakes do you allow your dentist? Yeah, none. And we
That's
all look at
right.
the quality of the cars these days, and you can't. The hood's got to align, the doors have got, everything's got to fit.
Yes,
So
yes,
it's there's a sense of quality assurance in there. And that's I kind of beat that to death, but at the end of the day, that's you're competing, and investors these days, and I think for quite some time, they really focus on, if it's investors, could be lenders, anybody, really, your friends and family, even. Of course, the good news about friends and families, they know you, and the bad news about friends and families, well, they know you. So you might have to overcome some past transgressions to get
yes.
mom and dad to write you a check for ten or
Right.
$20,000 to get your product off the ground.
That's true. It's
So,
low tolerance when, especially when it comes to hard-earned money that people have spent lots of time earning and saving and investing.
well, most investors really, I find that they're more afraid of losing the money they're putting in your business than they are considering the millions they're going to make on you down the road. They want to be sure, first of all, I'm not going to lose what I put in. Start
Mhm.
there. Show me you're not going to lose my money. Then talk to me about how much money you're going to make me. And that's down the road. But I just want to say, my background on this, I kind of got into this business. I was kind of accidentally, I guess you could call it that. I mean, it really wasn't an accident, but it was the things that led to it made sense. And even like going back into childhood when I was reading Popular Science and Popular Mechanics magazine, and
Mhm.
these people were writing about someone's got this great invention for this thing, and someone else had an invention for that, and it was all this really great stuff. And of course, the one that got my attention was the 200 mile per gallon carburetor. And so, and this is back probably in the 70s or something that was, a 200 talk about carburetors that we go way back. So, 200, where'd it go? If somebody really invented a 200 mile per gallon carburetor, where is it? And of course, conspiracy theories, oil companies buying it, but whatever.
Mhm.
We don't. It's not there, and we're not getting 200 miles per gallon today.
Mhm.
So so I always wondered, like, well, why is that? I mean, could be naive at the time, but you've got to consider there's certain things that that's kind of my pet peeve. It's like, okay, how do we help people create the solutions, or excuse me, uh, build the solutions they've created in a successful business, so you can make whatever you're doing, saving the world in your own unique way,
Mhm.
I think you can do full time. So it's not just something you do as a hobby; it's something you can really do and include others, enroll others to work with you, help you, get people to sell it for you, help, all of that, finance it, everything you got to do around it. There's a lot of moving parts there to make something a business successful, make a product successful. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people go into it, they don't really realize how complex a business can be. And yet,
Mhm.
you look at the business plan, and you go, "Oh my God, this is daunting." But it's you don't have to use all of it. But the idea is that there's all these things to consider. And oftentimes, if you're talking to investors, they probably know more about your industry than you do, because
Mhm.
they've been around a while. They've invested in other companies doing something, not maybe not similar, but like medical products, for example.
Right.
That's a whole big industry. You get some of these investors who focus just on medical products. They know a
Mhm.
lot about FDA approval, how to get this thing, how long it's going to take, what it's really going to cost, what you really have to do, all that stuff. And so they want to know, they want details. They want to know how you're gonna do it. And
Right.
so, but I got into this, just a quick story. I worked for Texas Instruments
Mhm.
for a few years selling electronic components. I've got a degree in business. First, went to University of California, got a degree in business. But along the way, I had about a year of mechanical engineering, a couple of years of electrical engineering, and finally, went into economics and business because I figured, I love the technology, but at some point, what do you do with it? And that's really what I was more interested in, is what can I do with the technology versus just making technology up. And so I got a job selling electronics for Texas Instruments. And from there, I got a job as the electronics buyer for the Sharper Image catalog, which back in the day was this kind of like a
Oh,
guy
I
gadget
remember.
catalog.
Yeah, it had some
Yeah.
unique gifts in it.
Oh my God. You're
Hey.
talking about having access like everything in the catalog. I want all of it. There's a
Mhm.
whole story I can tell you there about how I realized that you can if you're like a kind of an angry, cranky person and things aren't going well, all that stuff isn't going to make any difference just because you've got the new gadget. Now I've got my new gadget. I'm still, So anyway, that's something for your therapist to work out with you. But they promoted me to the catalog copy department because they liked how I explained, how the thing worked and why you should buy it. And then of course I discovered a word processor. This is talk about being dated. That's back in the 80s. And I thought I could make more money selling word processors because this was really cool. And of course, Macs and PCs came, and I was selling those to enterprises in Silicon Valley. So you take the electronics, the direct marketing, response marketing, catalog business, and then selling a high value product to an enterprise. So then, of course, Macs and PCs came along, and on word processors. And so there I was in Silicon Valley thinking, what can I do? Well, I'm going to do something. And I just figured I called it make karma payments. I'm just gonna help people. I don't know how. I could make you business cards. I made brochures. I made a catalog for a company. It took me forever to convince the CEO to print it in color, not do this black and white catalog.
Color cell.
And his sales went up 9 times because it was, because it was a good catalog. Because I worked for the premier catalog company on the planet. Anyway, so that helped. And then a friend called up and says, "I got a deal going with Apple." Big deal. He was a little company. He had an engineering software product, and Apple was interested in it. But at the time, the SBA, the Small Business Administration, had done a study of 26,000 businesses that had failed. And they found that 65, 66, 7% of them, call it 2/3 of them, had no business plan. So what does that tell you? That's not maybe all of it, but that's enough to get your attention, especially if you're going to loan somebody money, they better have a business plan. At least you got that issue off the table. So,
it's
but
a thought
nevertheless,
through
Apple,
business, not just us flying by the seat of the pants business.
yeah, I mean, at least, at the outset, at least it's the bridge between your fantasy and some kind of reality. It's like that's the closest thing to like, how do you get all the moving parts to, before you pour concrete, you really want to have a blueprint because you want to know where the pipes and the wiring are all going to go first, before you set it in stone. Anyway, so Apple wanted to see his business plan because they needed to be sure that his company would thrive and survive to support and develop the product further and all that. And so I put it together kind of as a thought of like, this is kind of like a catalog of answers that everybody would want to know. And I still think of it that way because investors ask a lot of questions. Sure, you could dazzle an investor with your initial pitch. Oh, this is exciting. And wake up tomorrow morning and think, hold it here. I'm going to call up a couple guys that I know. I'm going to call up my technical friend and say, does this make any sense? And I'll call my marketing friend. Does this make any sense? And I'll call up your finance friend and say, does this make any sense? And they're going to ask a whole bunch of questions. You're going to come back and say, well, yeah, you dazzled me yesterday, but I got some questions. And that will go on and on and on until they find a reason to say, I'm not interested, and then we're done. But that's kind of what they're really trying to do is they're trying to find a reason to say no early on, so they don't have to keep thinking about it. And so as long as you can have the answers, this is where. So I helped him do this plan. He got the deal with Apple, yay! And over the next year, I was helping people with business plans, basically helping them make sense of their product or service to investors. And sometimes it was just helping them sell the thing, but. It was always something that was missing, that they didn't have, or they couldn't explain this, or didn't have that, or I would be the investor and say, well, hold it here, you didn't tell me about this. Tell me about that. Prove this to me. Tell me about the risks. And that's a whole other thing too, is talking about being willing to reveal the risks. That's one of the parts of building trust, because the investor knows more about your industry than you do. If you reveal the risks to them, that means you're telling them that you understand the risks they already understand. Because they're waiting for you to say, here's the risk, here's the risk, here's your risk. And if you don't come up with that, they're going to say, do you really know what you're doing?
Yeah, right.
That's the problem. There's a reason to say no.
Right.
And so, and you could bring up, I'm not saying you bring, let's start with all the risks first. No, you start with, we found this problem. Found this solving the problem. We've got that. We had an aha moment. and we came up with this product or service, and it's working for people. And we now we need money to build them or build a prototype or get a patent or get the FDA approval, whatever you need to do. But you want to show the whole kind of roadmap of how you get there from here, including the people involved and why them and what's so smart about these guys and all that stuff.
Yes.
Anyway, so I helped people with these plans, and they got funded, and they had some great ideas. That was what was always, motivating to me. They had some great ideas. You got to get this thing. Got to get this thing out. You could build a business around that kind of thing. And a year into this, I'm standing in the shower thinking, if I see another crappy business plan, I'm going,
Right.
So, but what they were doing is they were doing what we all did in school. I won't blame anybody here or accuse you of doing this. I'll admit that I was probably party to BSing my way through a few documents in my day, but let's just say you did it too. And the investors probably did it too. It's all in there, but a business plan isn't writing a term paper that it's going to be graded by a teacher's assistant or TA in a hurry to go meet friends for a beer. And so, today, here you go. Oh, this is expecting people to write a large check, and they don't want to be BS'd because they can write a check for a lot of money. And so that's a beautiful thing. And so they demand detail. They want answers, and they're looking at your deal, and they're looking at a handful to 100 other deals. And so why are you a good bet?
That's right, because there are competitors for those dollars. But let's go back, though, to the risk. Investors would like to, they know about the risks, but they would like to know, I think, how a particular business is going to be managing or mitigating the risks. So that's an opportunity to really prove your worth and show that you know what you're talking about, and you've got answers.
Here's a risk, here's a risk, here's a risk. It could be a government risk, it could be a weather risk. We've got people who write business plans for cannabis farms. Weather's an issue unless you're growing indoors. But then, do you have electricity? What if the power goes out? You got to be able to keep the lights on the plants,
Sure.
So there's things that can go wrong. There's technological risks, political risks.
Right. And
the state decides to make it illegal to grow weed in your state now. I don't, I'm off the track here, but yeah, there's those risks, and they want to know that you acknowledge them. And some of the risks, I need your money so I can make this risk go away. And other ones, here's the risk, but I don't need your money. We can be clever and get around this. This is what we're working on. Of course, that's what investors want to hear. So you're not going to use their money to, But if it's a normal risk that you can make go away with money, then that's still on the game board. So that's still doable.
Right.
You don't maybe lead with the risk, but you certainly don't want to deny them. And I even say in the business plan, you want to be forthcoming with them, because if I come forward and tell you, here are the risks, bam, 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 here's what I'm going to do about it. This would take some money, which is why I'm talking to you, among other things. But here's what I'm looking at. And at least they go, okay, you're upfront about the risk. We believe you. We will trust you, at least so far. It's the people who want to hide the risks and maybe deny. Oh no, wait, no. That's just, there's risk. There are always risks. So there's nothing to be afraid of. You want to just, and they might bring up a risk that you didn't think of. You go, and you can say, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that, but I think we can work around that. Or with your help, how would you help us? Could you help us fix that? No harm in asking. No harm in asking for help. That's for sure. That's why you're here. And these investors, we're all on the track about investors, but you are your own investor too. So remember, you're if you're not getting money from outside, you're the venture capitalist.
Right.
This is you. This is the next 5 to 10 years of your life doing this thing. So you're betting your own farm on it. So, but and sometimes they say, that's a risk we've thought about. Don't know what to do about it yet. Got some ideas. I'd like to hear it, but at least, no matter what, you don't want to have that deer in headlights look. That's just not good. So you want to have some answers, to these things. And so don't be afraid that there's risks, because they're there.
You're right. Yes, and the investor just wants to know that you have answers and you understand what the risk is and how you have a plan for mitigating the risk.
Plan, concept.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yes, I know. What a concept. So
I was going to say, at the end of this year, I was thinking about these BSing your way through the plans, and I said, why? I was thinking, one of these days, I'm gonna have a great idea, and I'm gonna have the ultimate business plan. I'm gonna have just like the greatest business plan ever. for my own idea. And of course, I'm gathering all this content I'd created for these people, and I put it together in one big template, if you will. And I realized, whoa, hold it here. Product, I can help a lot of people put together business plans. Your business, and you need to be able to articulate business and answer the questions to the investors. So if you hire somebody to write your business plan for you, which is great, be sure that person's handy when the investors are talking to you, because they can answer some of the questions because they've done basically your homework for you. But come on, you're looking for millions of dollars. You need to put some time into this yourself to really understand the business. You want to understand the business. And what we've done is created this template that really is, what to do and how to do it, with what to say and how to say it. So you might read what we say. Well, I'd say it like this. Well, okay, right. But now you've been prompted what to say or how to think about it. And there's multiple paragraphs of different ways of saying maybe the same thing. But you go, well, I'm going to use this paragraph. I'll delete the rest of them. Great, do it.
So
But
you spent there's been decades fine tuning this tool of yours. So you've incorporated all of the learnings along the way. So it's really, really, really top notch.
I go to these meetings. I went to one where they said, hey, at this table for angel investors, and every single one of them could have written a check for whatever our hero on stage's deal was. And he's up there talking, and one of them says, so hold it here. So what if you got hit by a bus? Which is a polite way of saying, what happens if something happens to you? Because it did happen to a CEO in Silicon Valley many years ago. The CEO of Eagle Computer, which in the early days of PCs really had probably one of the premier PCs there, went public. Of course, the joke is that when you go public, the CEO got to buy a Ferrari. I mean, come on, you just made millions of dollars. You got to buy the compulsory Ferrari, and of course, you're drinking champagne to celebrate. Guy wraps the Ferrari around a tree and kills himself.
Oh, darn.
Can you imagine? That would just be so like, God, you've got all this way and you're celebrating. You got the Ferrari, you've made the money, bang, you're done.
Yeah. But
where's Eagle Computer today? I don't know. But the investors remember stuff like that. It's just the guy's been around a long time. And so it's a legitimate question. What if something happens to you? And so a lot of people aren't prepared for a question like that. And that's actually baked into the software, because it's like, you need to answer this question. And of course, the obvious first answer is, well, I got a team, and you're standing there on stage in front of all these guys with, team. They can fill in. 2, I've got key person insurance on me and really all of us in case something happens. We can hire a recruiter to replace, me or these guys, these people. So, and then, and that's really, and then, okay, so you've got an answer to that question. So you've thought some of this through. You're not, the real, I think one of the killers is some naivete where people just don't realize they don't know what they don't know. And so what we really kind of pull you through in the business plan is all the stuff that you bring to consciousness, what you don't know, what you probably need to know, at least think about, not be blindsided by a question about it. So you say, I've seen that question before, So what do I say about that? And that's really what I want people to be able to do. Because you've got this idea that could save the world. I mean, at the top end, we don't want this thing to fall through the cracks because you can't answer an investor's question. I mean, God, that's
Right. So a business plan isn't useful just in the very beginning of a business, but do you espouse redoing it periodically to revisit it so that it's a living, working document?
Did I prompt you to ask that? I mean,
I don't know. This just seemed like the next logical question.
Well, yeah, it's funny. I will ask people, do you have a business plan? They go, well, I'm not a startup. Like, well, and I was just sort of thinking about that. I made a list. In fact, I recently wrote a blog post that I talked about the case. It's 2025, the case for business plans.
Yes.
Which, and for all the people who I'm not a startup, But to your point, I mean, if you don't have, so there's a Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And so the best time to write a business plan is, well, before you started your business, and the second best time is now. And so, because I think of people going into strategic planning in 2025 or whatever year it is when they hear this, or would say we're going into strategic plan for next year, whatever year this is. So
Right.
most people in all these goal setting things that I see people pretty much the same talk about, you can put your whole goals on one page. I think, well, that's nice, but those goals are going to be things like, I'm going to double sales by January. I'm going to triple sales by March. I'm going to quadruple sales by July. By the end of the year, it's going to be 10x, like, and it's basically, I see them over and over again. It's more of the same. It's just goals to do more of the same. All my people, my employees are going to do more of the same, and then we're going to achieve our goals. And we're going to, we're going to make some changes. But like, why? Oftentimes they want to make changes, but the people want to know why. Why are we changing this? We're typically resistant to change, which is, because you've got something going, why change it? And that's a good question. Why change it? So it needs to be a reason. A lot of companies going into 2025 is different. I mean, than a lot of years. It's just the world has been changing like crazy. In the last 5 years, we've been through all kinds of crazy stuff. And so if you don't have a plan, you haven't thought about like, okay, the main thing is like, okay, what problem do we solve? What problems do we solve? And you really need to understand the problem you solve, and what's currently, how is that problem being solved today? I mean, part of the problem we solve is people have a problem pitching their businesses to investors and making sense and getting funded, because these investors will look literally at 1,000 plans a year, if not more, and they will fund maybe 5 of them. And so what happens to the other 995 great ideas? Presuming they're solutions to problems we all have, so we're gonna have something like that, And so how do you explain it? So you've got to really address a problem, and of course you want to go to investors who have a motivation, who are in that industry of solving certain problems, like whatever that is. And so you've got to be mindful about the problem you solve. And even reading your goals, you're already clear on you want to reiterate, are we still solving this same problem? Is this still the problem we want to solve? Is this, and of course, how many people have it? What are they doing today to solve the problem that without our product, they're doing it the hard way? And, and then how many of them are there? If there's different market segments of them, I use a thing where, what was I going to say? Like, I've got in the spreadsheet, you've got like the market segments. You've got like made up this proverbial boating product called a boat anchor. So market segments, you don't just say we're going to sell 1 million boat anchors next year. I was on a panel of investors, or a panel of judges for a business plan competition at the University of Texas a while back. 3 venture capitalists, and the teams came out and judged, for their business. And they all said, here's our business, blah, 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 and we're going to do $1 million this year. And the next one comes out and goes, here's all this business, blah, 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 and we're going to do $1 million this year.
Right.
5 teams came out. They all said the same thing. And I'm one of these people. I hear details. I hear certain things. I thought to myself. I looked over at the venture capitalists. Says, guys, you were guys at the time. I said, guys, is it just me, or does everybody $1 million in their first year? And they all just started laughing, like, oh my God. They said, you would be blown away at how often people say that.
Oh, yes, I
and it's just
that's a magical number.
It's catastrophic. I mean, you want to. This is not the time to lose the investor. You want to keep,
Exactly,
and the other one on the flip side of that coin is, I was on a panel recently. This guy's got a dental product, really good dental product. Really, it's a cool thing. I probably want one myself if I had a tooth that came out. Whatever. Anyway,
right, yeah. So
this market is $10 billion. If we get 1% of it, we'll be a $100 million company. You know what it would take to be like, let's take the car industry. What it would take to become 1% of the car industry. I mean, that would be monumental.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So we're talking about billions.
It's clearly the wrong thing to say. And I say, well, you need to segment the market. So back to the boat anchors. There's X number of sailboat owners, fishing boat owners, pleasure boat owners, houseboat owners, whatever. But you segment them all, and then you get an empirical, factual number. For example, you can go to Sailing Magazine and you'll see 350,000 paid subscribers. That's obviously made up, but I think I made that up. And they're not all boat owners, but you find out someplace how many sailboat owners are there on the planet.
Right.
So,
Yes, you want to know what the size of the market for what
yeah, and so when the
competition
investors
is.
do the due diligence, they can go look that up and they can verify that, yeah, there's 350,000 sailboat owners in the world.
Yes,
Check. And then the
check.
rest of
Yes.
them. And
All right. Yeah,
is that market growing? And
that's.
then you say, well, what percentage of that market do I think I can get? You
Mm-hmm.
never, ever say 1%. Just
Mm.
1%. It's just like, it's like I hear so much. I just want to
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
get 1.1%, 0.9%, but not 1%. That's that
Yeah.
killer number that will just, anyway.
Yes, that's right. That seems to be the catch-all number.
And
Mm.
it's late. Yeah, it just says you're lazy. You really haven't thought about this. You really don't know what you're doing and all that. But
Yeah.
that's the number they will negotiate. Well, I think you can do 3.2% or 3%, whatever. Okay. And now you negotiate. So now the next number is you take the number of sailboat owners
Mm-hmm.
and times the whatever 10%. Let's just say three. Now we got it's just math. How many boat owners are we have our customers? And then we go down and say, okay, what's the product? What's the price? And
Mm-hmm.
then the number of people are going to buy this thing. So that just mathematically, the only one that really is a stretch there is the percentage, the market share, which
Mm-hmm.
you can negotiate with the investors. That's the part where you say this is where we negotiate. But
Mm-hmm.
there's 350,000 boat owners. That is unarguable. You still
Yeah.
want to start with an unarguable, factual number.
Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
and then it gets down to here's how many units I can sell. Here's the price of that unit. Math. Here's what our sales are going to be. And they add up for each segment, each product. And
Mm-hmm.
now this is how you build that number.
Right,
And
right,
I'm
right.
beating this to death because it's crucial that people really understand that. And you need to
That's
rethink
right.
your goals for next year in light of that. And that's where it becomes believable and doable. And so, anyway, I've talked too much about that whole bit. I
No,
think,
no, no. Well, I just want to bring up another point too. We haven't really addressed the market share of the competitors. That's something that's going to need to change if there's a new entrant into the marketplace. Yeah.
yeah,
How
you can't
are
just
we
say, well,
gonna?
my goal is next year I'm going to triple sales and 10x by the end of the year. So, well, hold
Yes.
it here. I got to also mitigate. I got a competitor over here doing something new
Yeah.
or different.
That's right.
Like I've
That's
got
right.
competitors who have AI in their business plans. You can
Mm.
use AI in ours, but they don't have a spreadsheet, a financial model.
No.
Uh-oh.
Oh, okay.
AI is not making finance, and AI really isn't ready to do business plans for people. Believe me,
Mhm.
we've tried. Now it can work things within the content of each set because there's the market
Right.
analysis section, there's the management
Right.
team section, there's the PR section,
Yeah.
there's an international component, there's a section, there is the
Yeah.
competitive analysis section, and it just the time you'll take if you can figure out how to engineer the AI prompt to give you the answer and write you the copy that you need,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be through several sections of the business plan by a long shot before you would by the time you figure that out, just to avoid spending like our product starts at $27 a month. So I want to get that low cost, but that's so people can continue using it because you use it, startup, maybe you don't raise money, but you're the investor. If you need to raise money, you need a plan. I'm getting back to your question about how do you keep this thing? Do you keep it throughout the length of the business?
Right.
Now
Right.
if you're going to get an SBA loan, got to have a business plan. They actually read them. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's you're onboarding people. I want to recruit you to join my business and be my new VP, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're thinking, well, I'm really good. Why should I join you and not the 10 other offers that I'm getting?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's our plan. And so you can read the plan. Okay, I like this. As your new VP of marketing, I'd like to change a few things. We're hiring you, so we want you. And so, but now you're not just going in and changing all the marketing. You understand the problem we're solving. You've got a larger context of within which to operate. You say, okay, given all of this, and you can negotiate to change all of it too. But I'm just saying, but it's all together in the plan because the manufacturing person might come in and go, well, that's a great idea, but hold it here. I got to do this for you to do that. And so you've got people agreeing on things and how it's going to go because one of the killers of many businesses, I think it's one of the top 3 killers of businesses, is called founder breakup.
Okay.
You and I are running a business. We have to make sure we are, as my attorney in Silicon Valley said to me, he says, you can design the business so we all get rich the same way. So my example is like you and I are going to do a real estate deal. We're going to buy a building and we're going to fix it up.
Mm-hmm.
I want to fix it up and sell it. You want to fix it up and rent it. Do we have a problem?
Yes.
Yeah, we do. So, but that's a conversation you and I have over drinks before we even get started. You know what I mean? So, but this is the kind of stuff that will get smoked out in the plan. Is someone says, "I want to do this," and someone says, "I want to do that." And well, that's why, and let's sort and make this work. And so everybody's now, well, ideally, happily doing their part. And so that's a big deal. That's because you don't want to get halfway down the road and realize, oh, you want to go this way and I want to go that way.
Yes. Uh-oh.
Like Buckminster Fuller said back in the 80s, he says a mistake in the plan requires an eraser, a mistake in the field requires a pen, a checkbook, excuse me. Yeah. So you don't want to be you want to be in the pencil part, not the checkbook part, So, I can speak till hell freezes over on the value of the business plan. So, so now you're recruiting people. Let's say you've raised money. Now, what are you going to do? How do you want to apply this money? Because now you don't want to run out of money, because you don't want to go back to the investors and say, we kind of blew all the cash, and maybe need some more. yeah, you blew that. Now we want a pound of flesh out of you because you screwed up. And so there's that. And of course, at the end, the other end of the spectrum, or like my friend with Apple wanted to see his plan to be sure that they wanted to be convinced that he could deliver on a big deal. And so, sometimes you're going to get a big contract with a company. They're going to say, you're awfully small. Can you really deliver 1 million pieces of these things? Because we need them, And so imagine going to Tesla and saying, hey, Elon, we're going to provide all the charging stations for you. You might have the best charging station in the world. They'll look at you and go, yeah, but you can't deliver.
Yes, what's your capacity?
Prove to me you can deliver them. So,
yeah, what's your expansion plan?
Who's working with you? Who are the people? And so when if I'm gonna recruit you to join my business, you want to know who I am. You want to know who the CFO is. You want to know who the marketing person is. You want to know who the technology person is. And so these people, we got the whole bands together. Now we're looking for the lead guitarist here, And so you want to know who else you're playing in the band with.
That's right.
Mix multiple metaphors in all of this conversation, but
right.
Yeah. At the end of the day, at the far end of it, like especially today, there are a lot of baby boomers looking to sell their companies or sell their businesses.
That's right. Yes.
Business broker. How about having your client use a business plan to sell their business? And say, well, yeah, that's crucial because businesses are unsellable. This isn't making this up. This is what they're telling me. But they're just because they just thought, or they're behind the scenes. And so, reason you want to pay, you will pay a lot of money for a McDonald's, is because the McDonald's is like laser focused, dialed in, proven, documented, trained, everything going on for hardly a train wreck behind the scene.
Right, they've got systems.
And you pay dearly for that. Because it's like a guaranteed success.
Yeah.
And so your plumbing company, your electronics company, your thing you developed to cure cancer, whatever you've got, it's got to be one of those things where the person buying it, I'm buying a business. I'm not buying a job or something I have to fix.
That's right. This is going to make me money. That's why I'm looking to invest in it.
Yeah. And I tell people, the better job you do on your business plan, the better deal you're going to make, and wherever you are along the road. So you want to, strategic planning, we've left that out. That's kind of in the middle of this whole story. Next year, what are we going to do? Well, let's look at what
talk about the strategic planning piece. What do you mean by that? And maybe with application to next year, 2025.
It does. I mean, you want to have this business. If you have the business plan, you review it for 2020. Are we still solving the same problem? Or the same? Are we the same people who have it? Have they changed? Like you asked earlier, is there a competitor who's now doing something? What do we need to do about that? And so now you're having a discussion about really all of the business. You're really reviewing the entire, not just saying, well, sales last year were $1 million. This year we're going to do $2 million, and then next year we're going to do $10 million.
Right.
Based on what? And you can't ignore the world. You really have to consider all those things. And I'm sorry, but it's just, how are you going to work? Or you can't do it on one page or 2 pages.
No.
Pages, that's what I'm advocating. But there's the financial model you want to play. Can we save money if we raised capital? Could we get some economies of scale here? I work with a client who makes tiny homes, And
Oh, interesting.
they're looking to raise $10 million because they can't sell they can sell they can't make tiny homes fast enough. That's the problem.
That's
And
a
so
great problem. And
I call that a high class problem. Sales is not an issue. People want them and they want theirs. And so the issue is, can we buy 100 microwave ovens for way less to put them in all the tiny homes? Can we buy tires, frames, whatever it is? Can we buy material and save a fortune on that and get the economies of scale with material?
Right. So even before the business plan is written, they've got to source all of their inputs, right, beforehand, so that they can, or at least have a plan and who to reach out to will be their suppliers and develop
Yeah, and
relationships.
look at the guy that got the free Learjets. I say free Learjets. I mean, obviously he has to pay for them.
Yeah, yes,
He
somebody
didn't have
else
to
had
buy
it
the jet
already.
as he goes.
Hmm.
But if you go to your supplier, and maybe there's a supplier sitting there with an empty warehouse, thinking, I can't sell this thing. Everybody's working out of their house, or I got an empty office bill, or whatever. You go to them and say, um, I can help you out here. Here's my proposal. Here's my business plan. What I want from you is this. You can make a deal.
So, how long does it usually take, would you think, for people to build or develop their business plan initially? How
I'd
much?
say probably a month or so, maybe 6 weeks. I
Right.
mean, you could do a lot in a weekend. I mean, you can certainly go through it easily enough and just like, okay, I know what I'm doing here. And it's got a menu with check boxes, so you can check the boxes for the sections you're going to use because you're not going to use all of them. And you start with a certain industry in mind, so we could pull down, let go on which industry are you in, and they'll give you a little bit of a head start in that particular industry. So certain sections are easier than others. One of them is a section. Are you a C corp, an S corp, an LLC? What are you? And you just delete all the ones you're not and leave the one in there. But at least having read all of that, some investor could ask you, why did you choose to be a C corp and not an LLC? You need to be able to. I chose that because I need to sell stock in the business. All that stuff So, you want to have answers to those questions, or at least be comfortable with what you're doing, where you're going with it, and really know why. And if you aren't comfortable, you can always look up and go, we've got links to click on to tell me more about that. And what do I need to know? So, and there's videos explaining, look, in this section, here's what investors and lenders are looking for. So that's me talking to them. But if you're so that way you get a sense, okay, I'm going into this section. Now I know what I'm supposed to think about as I go into this section.
So a step-by-step guide with video instructions.
It is.
Very user-friendly.
But so for the strategic plan, which is critical for next year, is like you really want to it's an opportunity to kind of rethink everything. But since you've already done it, maybe you've had the business plan from the start, open your business plan, go through it again, and with everybody, it's okay. This is okay. We're all on the same page here about what we're doing. We're helping. Could we do anything differently? There's the management team. Everybody knows who they are. Here's a new guy, a new person's over here. New woman's joined us here. But we're going to go internationally. Here's our international idea.
Right. Do you store the business plans for your clients?
We do. It's all in an online dashboard that's secure. And the good news is, first of all, no one's really no one's gunning for your business plan. They don't even know it exists. So but the good news is you can log in anytime, anywhere. Your other people can share it with you. You can collaborate. So you're not doing this by yourself. And so you can give people access to it. They can read it, go through it, look at the numbers, play with that. There's a couple places in the numbers you can do the best worst case analysis. Because bankers and investors, well, show me, here's your numbers, but on a good day, what's it going to do? On a bad day, what's it going to do? And triangulate that at the bottom where you say, well, there's a 50% probability that all goes wrong, a 10% probability that all goes right with a tailwind, and you have 40% left in the middle and say, okay, this goes according to your plan. And you do the math on that, it comes up with a number again that since they were involved in negotiating with you what the percentages are of the market for your revenue model, and you've got all the expenses along the way of how to get there from here. And now you've got the profit and loss statement. They're saying, well, probability of this going bad or good. And they consider, so now the whole thing all the way along, and I did this with a tiny home company. We're walking the investors through this. They could see they could make adjustments to the numbers themselves. Like, I think you got a worse chance for this than that. Great. What's the number you want to see? Recalculates everything, and it comes up at the end of the day what the revenue number or the P&L going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to the panel that says, let's look at what the valuation is based on how startups or companies are valued in rough terms,
Mm-hmm.
And then we average all these different methods together, and now you've got a really believable, reasonable number of what this business is actually worth. And I tell people, well, first, the better job you do on your plan, the better deal you're going to make. Because if I could convince you that right now my business, with whatever I've done with it, is worth $900,000, and you invest $100,000 bucks. Now my 900 plus your 100 makes $1 million. You own 10% of the business. Simple as that.
Yes,
now, if I could get my team more aligned, write a better plan, tell a better story, get better data, whatever they do, write a better plan, and I could convince you or persuade you that my business is worth $1.9 million.
Right.
Now I'm worth $1 million more, obviously. That's worth $1 million, so that's pretty good return on using my product. But nevertheless, now when the investor gives you $100,000, they only get 5% of the business.
Right. So I love the interactivity of your tool too. That's you can do some what if scenarios in the tool live and change some numbers around, and you see the effects on the income statements and on the balance sheets, right?
I did it with investors online. They were looking at the model right there. I could change it. They could change it, and it's like, what do you guys think? That your sales should go up 3%, not 2%. They're getting this whole discussion about that. I said, hold it. Click on that yellow tab right there. Scroll right there. Change those numbers to 3. Oh, boom, 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 boom. Recalculated the whole model.
Amazing.
End of discussion. What's next?
That's amazing. It all just kind of flows through all of the income statements. And you can see the line, the results, and the impact on the cost of goods, and any changes can be made on the fly. And you can do snapshots too, I imagine.
Oh yeah.
You can have different scenarios for each of the different situations.
All driven by these different tables on each page. Many people make financial models, and I think the catastrophic mistake they make is they embed the numbers in the formulas.
Oh no. Okay.
This 10%, and point 1 is somewhere in a formula. You're thinking, what growth rate did you use in this calculation here? When you really want to have a table at the top that says, X%. The pricing thing is right there. The pricing number drives the rest of the numbers across the page.
Right.
Increase 5% per year, bang. Or 4% per year, bang.
Oh, so beautiful.
So that way they can see that, and it's all driven off the assumptions, and they can see the assumptions you're using. And really, the whole thing's arithmetic, a lot of arithmetic, but you can follow along, and a non-financial person could actually get it.
Right, because the interdependencies, how the formulas work, are built in, and they're GAAP, I would imagine, they're GAAP compliant. So there's a lot of confidence in the output.
I tell people it's not accounting; it's really a projection. We're trying to you're simulating. Well, what if I go pay every 30 days? We do that calculation in there, but really 30 days,
No, that's
the
beautiful.
tail wagging
That's
the dog.
beautiful. Really beautiful. So, okay, so let's tell people how they can try out the business plan.
Come to businesspowertools.com. That's right there.
Okay, got it right
if you have
there.
a link on your website, they should come to your website since this is on yours. You've got a link to Business Power Tools on your site.
Yes, okay.
Marketing Digiverse.
Yes, dear. And then we can do a demo, so people can get a demo by going to your website, and then they can schedule a demo with you. And is there a free sample, or is there?
There's a 14-day free trial. I mean, that's plenty of time to go through it, kick the tires, and say, does this work for you? Does it make sense? I think it will. It's just, but there's you got to think through your business. I mean, you want to think through your business. I really can't emphasize that enough. It's not something you just want to quick and dirty. Let's do it really fast, and investors, aren't going to invest on that. You probably don't want to build a business based on these quick hip shooting things. You really want to think it through and understand the competitors, really understand the market, really understand people who are going to use your product
And
because
I can see the interactiveness of the tool and help people really clearly think through their business. There are challenges with questions as they go through the process, and you have some prompts and trainings that people can use so that they can have a really high quality business plan.
yeah. Well, one of the questions I hear a lot lately, I'm kind of surprised actually. One of the things that I'm on this panel with these medical technology products, and
Good.
these investors are asking questions, and the surprise. And I've asked this question forever myself, and I'm surprised that finally somebody else is asking it. But we've had it in the system for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I put it is, what's a nice person like you doing in a business like this? Because really, one of the three questions investors are asking is like, why your product or service, why now, and why from you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the key thing. And so that's why you've got this problem that needs to be solved. People have this problem. I've had the aha moment
Mm-hmm.
to come up with the product or service that solves this problem. And
Mm-hmm.
better to be able, since investors are betting on the jockey more than the horse, they want to know, and horse races are won by a nose. And I say the difference between a gold and silver in the Olympics is often down to a hundredth of a second.
That's
So
just that true.
details matter. Again, they're looking at a half a dozen deals, yours and 100 others. So why you? And so the why you part is critical, crucial, whatever all that stuff, important. Definitely
Mm-hmm.
because if you're betting on the jockey, meaning you, they want to know that you're going to get back on the horse after you've fallen off 100 times. And so, and I say 100 times, sort of facetiously, but
It's
you're
business.
going to get back on. And so there's a motivating reason. I've got a friend who's got a medical device for detecting cancer. His wife died of breast cancer.
Wow.
So he is on a mission. And
Mm-hmm.
you listen to him talk about this guy's got nothing better to do than get back on the horse. And
Mm-hmm.
so that, in a way, is what investors want to hear. They want to know that not that you're going to go down with the ship because we don't want the ship going down, but you are going to do whatever it takes to make this thing go because you've got a bigger reason or something like that, more than the money.
Mm-hmm.
That's really a critical ingredient. It's like, why are you doing this? Like, why should we believe you're going to be the one to really power this thing through? Because I've met people who've had really great ideas, really cool things to solve this problem. And I look at them and I go, you're not the one to pull this off. You just aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got to be that person with that overused word passion to do it. It's more than passion. It's really like a
Mm-hmm.
thing that how's to
Power it
say it?
through. See it, yeah, see it through no matter what.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
determination on a scale of 1 to 10 has got to be around 11 to 20. So it's got to be really got to be there. So yeah.
Yeah, we really touched on a lot of qualities, characteristics that investors are looking for, but also employees when they decide to work for a company or partners,
Or stay with a
vendors
company.
even. Yeah,
It's expensive to lose people.
yeah.
And if you're not listening to them, that would be my biggest reason to quit is you're not paying attention to me. I'm telling you, we got to do this, we got to do that. I'm seeing this happen. I'm at the front lines. I'm going to go work for somebody who's on the ball. And
Yes.
so you want to include what you can do with this. You can include people in the planning. And again, it's not just do more of the same. You want to really hear from people like, okay, what are you hearing from customers? Are we solving their problem?
Mhm.
What's happening in this market? Should we go to social media? Should we use influencers? I mean, there's influencers today. The influencers weren't around a few years ago.
Not like they are today. And there's one other stakeholder group that we haven't really touched on a lot, and that's the vendors who extend credit to a business. Yes, they would like to see the business plan too, especially a very brand new company. When
Well, and God help you if you're digging yourself out of a bankruptcy. The
Mhm.
judge wants to see what's your plan? How are you going to restructure this business to, get the funding, get out of this thing, whether it's needs funding or whatever you need to do. So
Mhm.
there's that end of it is getting out of trouble. So there's that thing. So
Right, right. We have covered a lot of territory here, Burke.
It really, I mean, it's important stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
it's
critical
really,
stuff to people's businesses. They just sort of think they can just skate on by. But if you're working with a lot of people and you want them on the same page, I mean, if you're an orchestra conductor, are you going to go out and teach everybody how to play their instrument and learn the tune? No. Here's the sheet music. Okay, you first, you then you you give them sheet music. You know, like you're not going to get a movie script green lighted by a production studio if you don't have a script or a movie. You know, I get this great idea for a movie. Well, show me the script. You know,
right. And as you're talking there, I can see the conviction that you have, and
still
the
looking for the
belief that
200 mile
you
per
have
gallon
about,
carburetor.
yes, yes, about business plans. You are on a mission to get business planning in this almost 70% of people who are in business in their hands so that they can thrive, they can survive and thrive, and also be very successful because they've thought through their business. You've helped them through the think through ask the tough questions and answer them.
We made it as easy as possible.
Mm-hmm,
This has
mm-hmm.
evolved over time, and like I add things from time. You know, like what about this? Oh, okay. They just, what happens if you get hit by a bus? Oh, we got to add that in the system because you know that guy failed in that very moment. All the checkbooks went back in their pockets.
Oh my, yes,
I was just going, oh,
right.
dude. I mean, come on, really? You couldn't answer that question. That should have been something you could answer on the fly like that. But he just like, you know.
Very, very.
So it's but for strategic planning, you're just thinking it through. It's you really want if you have a plan, you want to go over the whole thing again. If you don't have a plan, put one together that incorporates all that stuff. So when you make your goals for next year, whatever year it is, you've thought the whole business because so much changes so fast that in AI and everything else going on.
True. Yeah,
Tools
and you're continually
changing.
updating the business tools. I know you're a mechanical engineer, so you're very systematically systematized in your thinking and process oriented. I can.
I made it so I couldn't do enough. I couldn't do a plan for you fast enough by myself. You know, I couldn't. I just thought, you know, here's a template. You do your business. You know how to do it. I mean, especially if somebody's selling their business, they know the business backwards and forwards. They've got the money, I hope, you know, and they're motivated because they want to sell it. So
Mm-hmm.
help, but you need to think about that about 3 years before the time when you're actually going to sell the business.
Oh,
That's what brokers are telling me. All of them saying, think about 3years.
yes,
So
I've heard that too. At least 3
because you've got to not be a train wreck. you
years.
you have to start thinking, okay, looking around my business, what can I do to make this thing be attractive? How can I stage it? If I was a realtor selling your house, I would tell you water the plants, paint it, clean up the place. I mean, come on,
Yes.
it's pretty basic, you know. But but you know these things get out of hand. They often don't contribute directly to selling. Maybe if nobody sees it, it doesn't really matter. You have policies and procedures in place? Maybe, maybe not. Is it an issue? No, but you know, it becomes one. You know, especially if something goes wrong, it become it that. Well, I don't. That's a whole other subject. But you know, yeah, lots can go wrong there. We have an employee policy handbook with. I mean, it's got 200 plus policies,
Oh, that's
which
another tool that you
I think
offer.
is just you know, they're all
Okay,
there. It's got all these policies in it. So
good to know.
you know, it's just because I'm in California, so we cover a lot of stuff, and but it's
That's
just by different states. If you're in Texas, you pay overtime on 40 hours a week. If you're in California, you pay overtime on 8 hours a day. And there's a whole bunch of states that are by 40-hour a week and 8 hour days. So you know, there's all that. So
Mhm.
you know, but yeah, you know, you and there's you know, you do something stupid, and the employee sues you. And you know, according to the Society of Human Resources Managers, the average lawsuit to win it costs about $250,000.
Oh, that's not chump change.
Explain that to
Oh
your
my gosh.
investor.
Mm, mm, mm.
Sorry, investor, we lost $250,000 of your money because somehow I couldn't keep my hands off the help.
Oh no.
You know, if there was a bumper sticker you made, that keep your hands off the help,
Yeah,
please.
that's
God.
right. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, be careful. Manage your people too, so that they abide by the law and don't get the company in trouble. Very good. Very good. Burke, I think that's a whole nother subject, is the
Oh,
employee
it is.
manual. We have to have you back to talk about that.
Start me on that
It
one. Yeah,
seems
right.
like, yeah, you've got 50 states that you cover with your employee handbooks. And
I'd like to make it worldwide. I really would. I think with AI we could make it translate into all the languages.
oh, we
I'd
heard it
like to get
here.
this thing because there's
Okay.
different countries with different practices in them, which in a way some of their practices are better than ours. And so it'd be interesting to, I don't know how he'd pull that off, but all the
Yeah.
practices in there, and you go in and she's well, here's how I want our kitchen policy to be. Like they do this like this in Nigeria. That's a great idea, or not, whatever it is, it would be would be
Oh,
interesting. It'd be, wow, I didn't know the Australians thought about it that way. That's kind of weird, kind of cool.
yeah,
Who
that is
knows?
kind of
But,
cool. Well, maybe we could take advantage and use that in our policy and procedure manual. Sounds good.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Bert. Gosh, we're at the top of the hour. We've just been flying here. I just really have enjoyed having you on the show, and I hope people do um, see the website and get their own business plans going. A refresher or a brand new one, or
Yeah.
yeah, something. Just do it.
But this can get you up to speed real fast.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the whole thing. It's not as daunting as it may seem. And
right.
especially if you want an SBA loan, you need a business plan. And that's
Oh, yeah,
often and that's
yeah.
to the SBA lenders. They
Mhm.
want you to get this business plan done because that's kind of the long lead time thing in the process. They don't
Right,
make any money until they get you the loan. So they can put through the application and all the stuff, and then where's the
right.
business plan?
Yeah, I know.
So they
Oops.
need that to finish the deal. And so they don't get paid until the deal's done. And
Right,
so come
right.
on. And they can't do the business plan for you. You have to do it.
That's right.
So
That's right.
it's but it's worth it. I mean, come on, look how much money you're looking to get. Whoever you're getting the money from, I think just like I said in the very beginning, they deserve an explanation.
They do. They do. Well, I love business plans, and I just love to have the way they come together, and I love having my thoughts being clarified as I work through business plans. It's a fun process. It really is. It's a fun process. You
I've
could
been going
see a
through my
business
own,
coming
yeah, I was
life.
having fun with it. I was thinking, oh God, I don't go through my own plan. Here I am talking about it. Am I going through my own plan? I was going through the other day thinking, this is, I was getting kind of excited. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to change that. It was things I needed to change, because it's new and I'm looking to raise money or I am raising money. And I've got a couple of new people that don't want to work with me and thinking, okay, I put their bios in. This is looking
Yeah,
good. So, and addressing the competitors and realizing where I can win there. It's like, okay, I'm not worried about those guys. So because of this, I got this on them. So
that's so good. Good, good. You are using your own tools to
that
your
was the idea from
benefit
the
and your
get-go.
partner's benefit too. All right, so
Thanks,
people,
Nell.
yes, we have heard it here. This is such a highly energized conversation that we've had with Frick, and I would like to have him back to talk about the employee handbook
Oh
next.
my God. Okay. Well,
All
we'll
right,
talk about
so
the
we're
safety
going to say
plane too.
goodbye
Yeah, there's
for
that.
now.
Thanks,
Yes,
Nell.
thank you so much. This has been a joy, a complete joy.
My
And
pleasure. Thank you.
so, thank you. All right, folks, join us next Wednesday where we're going to be talking some more about business and life insights. Tune in. Thanks again.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.
Recording off. I take it you're still recording.
I'm still recording, but here, let me stop it. We're going to stop.
I hope I gave you.